Welcome to the Raider Reveal. This is episode 3. We are welcoming with us today John Big Time Zelehoski. He is the voice for Raider football over the last year. Now, Mr. Zelehoski, some might, and maybe even yourself, might say that we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here on episode 3, calling in, the announcer for the football game. But I completely disagree. I think the idea behind the Raider Reveal is to slowly introduce people to all of those who have some sort of impact on Raider athletics in one way or another. And quite honestly, there's no bigger venue sometimes than those football games with the number of people that come in to support and so on. So having somebody who's that voice is important. So I wanted to introduce you to a lot of individuals who might not know who you are. I know from your work down at Linwood that most students probably remember you. So could you tell us how long you've been in the district, what you do, things like that?
Of course. So this is my 14th year in North Brunswick Township Public Schools. I have been teaching world history for pretty much that entire time, working in 8th grade. We were co-workers together, colleagues working in 8th grade as well, and worked very well as we got through all of the different issues that we try to go through. As and a lot of my students tend to know, incredibly passionate, number one, about my curriculum, number two, about working in North Brunswick Township. And I'm just happy that I'm able to give back in, a little way and help everyone else out as much as I can.
So let me ask you, why did you decide to jump into this football announcing, role? I mean, we inquired and you jumped and said, "Hey, I would do it." So I think that kind of is who you are as an individual, always willing to get involved,
Thank you.
always supportive of North Brunswick, not only athletically, but the students, the families, the community, so it wasn't shocking to me, but what motivated you to say, you know what, I want to give that a shot?
It actually all started back few years ago. Unfortunately, one of our beloved teachers at Linwood was named Aubrey Pappas, and we lost Miss Pappas going on 6 years ago, if I remember correctly. And one thing that was started the year after she passed away is they started a memorial football game in her honor. And this football game was a rivalry game with South Brunswick, Crossroads Middle School. And the first year, it's the first time that I can remember seeing the Linwood team playing at the high school varsity field. And we brought the Linwood team up, the South Brunswick team came in, and I was asked if I would like to try announcing the middle school game. I had never announced a game in in the past. However, I listen to sports a lot on the radio. So as I listened to it on the radio, someone like your first interviewee, Corbett, phenomenal play-by-play announcer. So I, just kind of have that in my mind. And as I was sat down, I really got into the game. Maybe not all of my calls were perfect, but I really enjoyed, being there for the students, being there for the families, everything that we do for, the Pappas family, raising for Anthony and his father, Paulie. That's what I enjoy. And, being able to give back, that helped. And that's really where I learned that I enjoyed having a passion for speaking out loud. I enjoy, not just enjoy, I love speaking to all of my students. They know because they're a captive audience. But at the football games, these people are choosing here. They're coming here to support the team. They're coming here to support their children. They're coming here to support everything. And, being able to speak for them and give them some sort of visualization, it's great, First time you get up there and you're not really sure what it's going to be like, you make a couple calls and then, once you hit your rhythm, you just kind of go with it.
So do you have to hone your skills in the classroom by using play-by-play calls with the students as they raise their hand or pass papers back, or, do you do that at all jokingly? Or how is your personality as they, I guess, really, they refer to you as Big Time. I mean, that was the name that just came to you. So how does that carry over into your classroom experience? Are your personalities the same as a play-by-play and
I would
as an educator?
I would say yes. My personality as an educator actually has changed a lot over the last 14 years. I used to be a lot, I don't want to say angrier, but at the same time,
I would hope not. I hope you were
I'm
an
an
angry
emotional person.
educator.
I am a vocal person. I'm someone who talks with my hands. I'm someone who is very big in the loud and quiet dynamic. I think that's important in everything. Sometimes you got to change things up to make sure that you're gripping the crowd. And if there's something that's exciting happening on the field, you want to convey that to the crowd watching it. Just like if there's something that's exciting happening in a lesson, you want to convey that to the students. So there are times where, I will ramp the students up as much as I can, or I'll bring them down for something and then all of a sudden build them back up just to kind of keep them on that emotional journey.
Yeah, you know what? I think that it's important, quite honestly, for coaches too. I was a longtime coach, teacher. It's always important to look back and see, how does what I'm doing here connect to, what I do in the classroom, or vice versa. As a coach, quite honestly, you learn a lot from coaching, and then you bring that into the classroom for differentiation, for how you break down skills and steps, expectations, not applying the same expectation to every athlete. You don't do that with students. Your whole life is about being reflective and looking back and saying, well, am I doing a good job? And how is this like what and what can I incorporate from one thing into another? So you are taking things that you do in a classroom and applying it to the play-by-play or the announcing. And sometimes in the announcing, you might look back and realize, I should try to do that in my class. Maybe not a play-by-play of every kid every time, but you do learn. So it's great to hear that, not only from coaches, but someone like yourself. You've been a longtime educator in North Brunswick. Do you have any favorite moments that stand out to you, or maybe they're not just individual small moments, but maybe something that happens every year, and you look forward to that particular event or what have you?
I mean, if you're talking just within education and just within North Brunswick Township, I've been working with the eighth graders, running eighth grade club with Mrs. Megan Keegan. And we always look forward to our semi-formal. That's one of our favorite events to get, because it's nice to just see the students act like kids. They don't have to worry about being big. They don't have to worry about being tough. They're just able to kind of sit back and relax and enjoy being kids. The same thing with our eighth grade trip to Fogbridge, when they're able to sit back and relax and see that. It's fun to just watch them step away from the serious, step away from trying to act a certain way, and just be who they truly are. That's, what I really enjoy seeing. We've had some great events in sports as well. I will remember that first game. I believe it was, if I remember correctly, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say right before halftime in that first Purple for Pappas game, it was a 98-yard interception by, I believe, Shalik Short, if my memory serves me. And like watching that run back, I think that was the one moment where I finally said, I love this. And I was told before the game, you can't call it live. Don't call it live. You don't want to mess with the officials as they're announcing, but something like that's always going to stick out in your mind, and see big plays like that.
So thinking to the last season with the high school football team, are there any moments that stand out to you from those, or what is it like seeing the team and how they've progressed, and what do you notice from up in the booth?
Just a passion, not just amongst the players and amongst the coaching staff, but amongst the entire school. Seeing the attendance at games go through the roof. And, everyone likes to root for a winner, but the fact that they've built a successful and a winning program, that's what I like. It goes beyond, they're losing some great players this year, but we've got good players coming up. I'm excited to see what Frankie Garbolino can do under center. There's good things that are happening, and it's not just the one or two players. Sure, we've lost some guys that are going on to college and are, continuing their future and continuing, their play, but being able to see winning, being able to see pride, being able to see the fact that everyone has been able to come together and rally around something bigger than themselves. That's what I'm really enjoying about what's happening with Raiders football right now. And I'm hoping and seeing that it's going into other sports as well. If we can continue to keep a lot of good players in town in football, we can keep doing that, and we can start keeping players in town in basketball. We can keep players in town in baseball. We can continue building winning programs all across the board.
Right. Well, thank you for that. So is there anything that you were thinking about changing as an announcer for next year? Have you been working on any, I don't know, maybe you have a certain call, certain phrase that you're just trying to incorporate, or do you just let it, fly off the cuff, whatever happens, happens, and you're one of those guys?
Majority of my calls are off the cuff.
Okay.
Whatever kind of springs to mind. Fourth and Forever.
Yeah, right. That's a good one.
What was another one I threw out there? I think it was, that backs them all the way up to the Monmouth County border, just some random things that come to mind.
Wow. So they just come out.
A
they're
lot
natural.
of them just tend to come out. One I have been trying to work in is the district really has been pushing the True North, and I'm trying to figure out the right way to work in the True North call. If it's going to be
the
like
phrasing.
True North, yeah, exactly. The phrasing has been the hard part. So that's the one thing I've been doing. Unfortunately, since we don't have live sports right now, I've been watching some old tapes, and I've been trying to figure out what sounds good as I'm, virtually calling old tapes. I tend to listen radio.
You're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, you're trying to adjust your craft, and
there is no off season.
Always growing, and in the off season. And I'm sure your wife loves the fact when you run around the house calling out True North Brunswick or trying to figure out your phrasing. That probably goes over pretty well.
She definitely has done a very good job of ignoring me. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, John Zelehoski, the Raider announcer for our football games. We refer to him as John Big Time Zelehoski. That is, and somebody did call you the voice of Raider football.
I have heard
that was shared by somebody, and also get a lot of positive feedback from the coaching staff as well about hearing it on the field and energizing them. And kids love to hear somebody with that passion too. And so thank you for stepping in to replace Mr. Swain when he was unable to continue in that role. And it's just great that we can have back-to-back individuals who, know how to call the game, love what they're doing, and are also part of our North Brunswick community. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm just glad that I was able to get the opportunity to be able to do this and to do something that is impacting, other people than myself. It's one thing to love your job, but it's another thing to, have other people appreciate what you're doing. And whatever I can do to help out, not just the staff, but also the students and also, the coaching staff, Coach Sipod and all the rest. Happy that I'm able to be there for them.
All right. Hey, thank you. Enjoy the weekend, and hope everything is going well for you.
Thank you so much. Hope everyone stays safe. Hope everyone takes care of one another. And it's Mother's Day. Give your mother a call. Give your mother a hug if you can. Do it social distancing, of course, and take care of one another.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rao. Have a good day.
You too.